I arrived to change the door lock. She glanced back and said, "Keep your tools handy, I'll show you where." The sky above the settlement shimmered with a faint green haze, a phenomenon the local scientists called iron mist. It stretched across the horizon like a blanket of soft light, giving the metallic buildings a strange, otherworldly glow. He adjusted his tool belt, feeling the weight of each instrument, a screwdriver, a precision lock pick set, and a small diagnostic tablet, all neatly organized. Every tool was necessary. Every tool had its place. The shuttle had landed an hour ago, leaving Elias with only the sound of the wind humming across the low hills outside the settlement. The landscape was dotted with strange crystalline plants that seemed to lean toward him as if they were alive. For a moment, he paused and took in the view, thinking about how humans had once only dreamed of colonizing planets like this. And yet here he was, tasked with something as ordinary as changing a lock, in a place that was anything but ordinary. The station itself looked small from the outside. A few interconnected metallic modules, slightly worn by the harsh weather. But when he walked inside, Elias noticed immediately that the building felt different. The lights were soft, almost dim, and the air smelled faintly of ozone. He ran a hand along the smooth wall, feeling the subtle hum of energy beneath the surface. It was unlike any station he had worked in before. "Elias," a voice called from behind. He turned and saw her doctor, Mara Quinn. She was a human woman, tall, with short dark hair that seemed to shine under the lights. Her eyes, however, were what caught his attention. They were sharp and alert, scanning everything around her. There was a calmness in her voice, but her gaze suggested she was always ready for something, though he wasn't sure what. "Yes, I'm Elias. Here for the lock replacement," he said, holding out his hand. Mara nodded and gave him a brief, polite smile. "Good, follow me. Keep your tools handy, I'll show you where." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Of course," he said, curious. There was something strange about the way she said it, as if she expected him to need them sooner than later. As they moved through the corridors, Elias couldn't help but notice how unusual the station felt. There were doors that didn't have labels, panels with strange symbols that he didn't recognize, and occasional hums that seemed to come from nowhere. Mara moved confidently, but he realized she was constantly glancing behind them. "Why so many locked doors?" he asked, trying to keep his tone casual. Mara paused and looked at him. "Some doors are more important than others," she said. She didn't elaborate, and Elias knew better than to push further. Some secrets were meant to be discovered slowly. The corridors twisted in ways that seemed almost impossible. At one point he thought they had doubled back, but the layout always changed slightly, like the station itself was adjusting around them. Elia's curiosity grew with every step. What could be inside that required such secrecy? Finally, they arrived at a plain metal door at the far end of a narrow hallway. Mara stopped and gestured for him to kneel. "The lock is here," she said softly. Elias looked at the door. It seemed simple enough, a standard security lock, but he noticed a small panel next to it that blinked with a soft blue light. Something about it didn't feel ordinary. He knelt and ran his fingers over the lock, testing its resistance. It was smooth, but beneath that smoothness he felt subtle vibrations, almost like the lock was alive in some way. Mara watched him silently. After a moment she spoke. "It's more than a lock. It's a guardian, not for humans, but for what's inside." Elias blinked. "Guardian?" "Yes," she said, her eyes glinting with a strange mixture of caution and pride. "Not everything in this station should be handled carelessly. Some things require a human touch." Elias straightened, curiosity turning into fascination. He had worked on thousands of locks, from residential doors to high-security labs. But this was different. He could feel the subtle complexity in the mechanism, almost as if it were designed to test him, to see if he could think like the human who had built it. "Why me?" he asked. Mara smiled faintly. "Because you are human, and only a human can do what needs to be done here. Elias felt a shiver run down his spine. The statement sounded simple, but the weight behind it was enormous. He had been chosen for a reason he didn't yet understand. He pulled out his tools and set them neatly beside him, laying out each piece with care. His fingers hovered over the lock, analyzing it, feeling for patterns, vibrations, anything unusual. It was unlike any lock he had ever worked on. There were hidden compartments, shifting plates, and tiny energy pulses that seemed almost intelligent. Mara crouched beside him, watching. "Take your time," she said, "but know this time is not endless. The station has its own ways of protecting itself, and it doesn't wait." Elias nodded, feeling the pressure, but also a thrill. This was exactly the kind of challenge that made him love his work. Most people thought locksmiths were only good with doors and keys, but Elias knew it was more than that. A lock was a puzzle, a test, a reflection of the mind that created it. And here, on this distant planet, he was about to prove the power of human ingenuity. As he worked, he noticed faint lines glowing under the surface of the lock. They pulsed in a rhythm that seemed almost alive. He traced them carefully with his fingertips, trying to understand the pattern. It was intricate, deliberate, and beautiful in a way that made his heart race. Mara broke the silence. "Do you feel it?" Elias looked at her. "Feel what?" "The lock isn't just metal and circuits," she said quietly. "It's a challenge. It's a human design that learns, adapts, and waits." He frowned. "Waits for what?" "For someone capable," she replied. "Someone who can understand, adapt, and succeed. That's why you're here." Elias took a deep breath. This was no ordinary lock. It wasn't just about tools and hands. It was about thinking, adapting, and understanding. He realized that every human who came here would fail, unless they could approach it the way a human mind approached a puzzle, with creativity, patience, and intuition. Hours passed. Elias worked carefully, testing each movement, adjusting, realigning tiny plates, and listening to the faint hum of energy beneath the surface. He was completely absorbed, aware of the strange hums in the corridors, aware of Mara watching him, but focused entirely on the task before him. Finally, he paused and looked at the lock. He had not yet opened it, but he understood it better now than any outsider could. He could sense its logic, its rhythm, and the delicate balance of its mechanisms. And he knew that when the time came, he would succeed, not because of force, but because of the human mind's ability to see patterns, adapt, and solve the unsolvable. Mara stood beside him, her expression unreadable but calm. "You understand it," she said simply. Elias nodded, a smile forming on his face. "I think I do." She reached out and tapped the lock gently. "Good, that's all that matters. Tomorrow you will see what the lock protects. And you will understand why it needed you." Elias leaned back, exhaustion mixing with excitement. He had traveled across the stars to change a lock, and already he felt the weight of something extraordinary pressing against the edges of his understanding. Something that would test not just his skill, but the ingenuity, courage, and adaptability of all humanity. Outside, the iron mist continued to shimmer over the settlement, painting the world in green light. Elias looked out the window, wondering what mysteries awaited behind the doors he was about to unlock. And deep inside, he felt a surge of pride and determination. Humans had reached the stars, yes, but humans were also ready to understand, adapt, and thrive, no matter what challenges the universe placed before them. For the first time since arriving, Elias felt truly alive. Elias slept poorly that night. Though the station was quiet and the iron mist outside cast a calming green glow through his small window, his mind buzzed with questions. Why did the lock need him specifically? What exactly did it guard? And why did Mara insist it required a human touch? By the time he had eaten a quick breakfast in the station's tiny kitchen, his curiosity had grown into determination. Today, he would finally learn why he was chosen. "Ready?" Mara's voice called from the corridor. Elias grabbed his tool belt. "Always ready," he replied. Mara led him down the winding hallways again, but today the corridors seemed even stranger. Some walls shimmered faintly, like heat waves in the desert. Others seemed to pulse with a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. Elias tried to keep his focus, noting each detail. Everything about this station was alive in some subtle way. They reached the same plain metal door from yesterday. Mara crouched and gestured for him to kneel. "The lock is only the beginning," she said. "What's behind this door is far more important than it seems." Elias felt a thrill run through him. This was no ordinary job. This was a discovery. With careful hands, he began to manipulate the lock, remembering the patterns he had studied yesterday. Slowly, deliberately, he adjusted the tiny plates and aligned the hidden channels. A soft click echoed through the chamber, followed by a faint hum that was almost musical. The door shivered, then slid open silently, revealing a hidden passageway beyond. Elias peered inside. It was a small corridor, barely wide enough for two people to walk side by side. The walls glowed faintly and soft lights traced the edges, guiding them like a river of energy. He felt a sense of anticipation, a quiet electricity in the air. Mara led the way, her movements confident. "You must understand," she said quietly, "this place is not just a room. It's a test, a challenge, and a repository of knowledge. Few humans have ever seen it." Elias' mind raced. Knowledge, challenge, a test. His curiosity surged. The corridor opened into a larger chamber. The ceiling was high, lined with strange conduits that glowed with soft blue light. In the center of the room stood a machine unlike anything Elias had ever seen. It hummed gently, almost like it was breathing. Its shape was alien, composed of interlocking crystalline structures and polished metal plates, yet there were subtle hints of human design, rounded edges, functional symmetry, intuitive interfaces. Elias' eyes widened. "What is it?" he asked. Mara smiled faintly. "A prototype," she said. "Human engineering inspired by alien technology." He stepped closer, feeling a pull toward the machine. It radiated energy, not dangerously, but in a way that made him feel its potential. He could see delicate circuits running through crystalline channels, energy pulses moving like veins. It was alive in its own way. "You've seen machines before," Mara continued, "but this one is special. It's designed to store energy beyond anything we've ever created. And it needs a human to secure it." Elias frowned. "Secure it with a lock?" "Yes," Mara said, her eyes glinted. "Not just any lock. Only a human mind can design a solution that this machine accepts. Alien sensors misread patterns. It will respond to intuition, logic, and creativity, the uniquely human combination of skills." Elias looked at the machine again, amazed. This was bigger than any job he had imagined. He had replaced locks on high-security labs before, but never for something of this scale. And the fact that the machine required a human mind made him feel proud, special, responsible. Mara gestured to a console nearby. "You don't need to touch the machine yet. First, understand it, observe it, feel its rhythms. That is how humans work with technology, through understanding, not force." Elias stepped closer, studying the machine carefully. There were tiny, interlocking components, glowing channels, and subtle shifts in energy. He noticed patterns in the pulses, regular sequences interrupted by irregular beats. It was as if the machine was alive, testing him, waiting to see if he could understand its logic. He ran his hands along a polished metal panel. A soft vibration ran through his fingers, aligning with the pulses he had noticed. It felt almost like a heartbeat, but mechanical and precise. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting his mind absorb the rhythm, the patterns, the subtle energy flowing through the structure. Mara watched silently. "The machine is patient," she said, "but it is also aware. It will respond when it senses understanding. Humans think differently than any other species. That difference is what allows us to succeed." Elias opened his eyes. He could see it now. The way the machine was designed to interact with him, not just through tools but through thought. It was a puzzle, and humans were naturally equipped to solve it. He sat down cross-legged on the floor, pulling out his tablet. Slowly he began to map the energy flows, the movement of crystalline structures, and the timing of the pulses. He made careful notes, sketches, and measurements, trying to decode the logic of the machine. Hours passed. The hum of the chamber became familiar, almost comforting. Elias noticed how every detail mattered. The slightest misalignment could change the flow of energy. The smallest observation could reveal hidden patterns. He realized that the machine was teaching him as much as he was studying it. Finally, he looked up at Mara. "I think I understand its rhythm," he said. Mara's eyes glinted with approval. "Good. That understanding is the key. Now you will prepare the lock that interacts with it. Not just any lock, one that the machine will accept. One that only a human could design." Elias nodded. The challenge was enormous, but he felt ready. Human ingenuity, creativity, and intuition would guide him. This was the moment he had trained for his whole life. He began assembling his tools and workbench near the machine, laying out each instrument carefully. The machine's hum seemed to respond, adjusting its pulses as if acknowledging his presence. Elias smiled. Humans had a way of leaving a mark, not through force but through understanding. Mara stayed nearby, observing. "Remember," she said softly, "the machine can sense impatience, frustration, or fear. Approach it as you would any problem, step by step, patiently, with focus. That is what makes humans different. That is why you are here." Elias took a deep breath. He could feel the weight of responsibility, but it was thrilling, not frightening. He was part of something extraordinary, something beyond the ordinary work of locks and keys. This machine represented not just technology but human potential, the ability to adapt, think creatively, and solve problems in ways no other species could. He began work carefully, adjusting components, testing reactions, and observing the machine's responses. It was challenging, more complex than any lock he had encountered, but every difficulty was a chance to demonstrate human skill. Mara watched him silently, a proud expression on her face. She had chosen Elias not just for his skill, but for his mindset. He embodied what humans were capable of: patience, creativity, and the ability to adapt in the face of the unknown. Hours blurred together as Elias worked, immersed in the patterns, the rhythms, and the subtle energy of the machine. He began to anticipate its responses, almost as if he could communicate with it through thought and observation. Finally, he leaned back and smiled. He had not yet completed the lock, but he understood the machine. He understood its logic, its rhythm, and its challenge. And he knew that when the time came, he would succeed, not because of tools, but because of the uniquely human ability to observe, adapt, and create. Mara stepped closer, her expression unreadable but calm. "Tomorrow, you will begin the final step. You will create a lock that the machine cannot misread, a lock that only a human could craft." Elias nodded, feeling both excitement and pride. Humans had come far, from simple tools to colonizing distant planets. And here he was, proving once again that human ingenuity could rise to any challenge, even one that no alien technology could fully predict. As the sun, or what passed for a sun on this distant planet, began to rise, Elias looked around the chamber one last time. He felt a deep sense of connection to the machine, to the challenge, and to the vast potential of humanity. He knew that what lay ahead would test him in ways he could not yet imagine, but he was ready. For now, he had discovered the unseen, and in doing so, he had glimpsed the limitless possibilities of human creativity. The first light of the distant planet's sun filtered through the tall, crystalline windows of the hidden chamber. Elias sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by his tools and diagrams. The hum of the machine, constant and subtle, filled the room like a heartbeat. He had spent the night analyzing its patterns, tracing the flow of energy and the rhythm of its pulses. Now it was time to act. Mara stood beside him, her gaze steady and unwavering. "Today is when the human mind proves its worth," she said quietly. "This lock is not just a lock, it is the bridge between potential and safety. You will craft it and the machine will accept it, or it will reject it." Elias nodded. The weight of her words sank in. He had faced challenges before, puzzles that required patience and precision. But this was unlike anything he had ever attempted. It was not merely about skill. It was about intuition, creativity, and human ingenuity. He began assembling the components he had studied. Tiny plates, shifting crystals, energy channels, and metallic clasps, all needed to fit together in perfect harmony. One wrong placement, one misaligned pulse, and the machine could reject the lock. Worse, the station's automated security drones, which Mara had mentioned in passing, could interpret incorrect activity as a breach. Elias felt a thrill of anticipation. The challenge was enormous, but it was exactly the kind of problem he loved. His fingers moved carefully, aligning pieces, testing connections, and observing the machine's subtle responses. The hum seemed to change as he worked, rising and falling in rhythm with his adjustments. It was almost as if the machine was watching him, learning from him, and responding to his thoughts. "Remember," Mara said, "the machine responds to understanding. It senses patience, focus, and creativity. It will reject force, frustration, or hurried work. Humans excel because we can adapt, not because we overpower." Elias smiled. That was the essence of humanity. Other species might rely on brute strength or strict logic. Humans relied on creativity, intuition, and adaptability. That was why he was here, and why he could succeed where others might fail. Hours passed as Elias worked meticulously. He aligned the tiny plates, adjusted the energy channels, and tested the pulses of the machine. The process required constant observation and subtle adjustments. A shift too large could destabilize the energy flow, while a shift too small might be ignored. It was a delicate balance, like playing a musical instrument that was alive. Suddenly, a soft chime echoed through the chamber. Elias froze. He had felt the vibration seconds before, but now it became audible, a warning note. "Security drones," Mara said calmly, though her eyes flicked to a panel in the corner. "They patrol the station. If they detect unusual energy patterns, they will investigate." Elias' heart raced. He had anticipated this possibility, but now it was real. He needed to continue his work without triggering the drones. He studied the hum of the machine carefully. The pulses were rhythmic but subtle enough to mask minor fluctuations. He adjusted the lock in smaller increments, testing each movement and observing the response. Slowly, deliberately, he worked around the machine's rhythm, syncing his actions with its pulses. The minutes stretched into hours. Sweat ran down his forehead, but he did not stop. Every adjustment, every observation, every decision mattered. This was not a test of strength, but of human skill, patience, and ingenuity. Then a soft whirring sound approached, the patrol drone. Elias' fingers paused, hovering over the lock. The drone's light swept across the chamber, scanning for anomalies. He held his breath, keeping his movements minimal and controlled. The drone passed without noticing anything. Elias exhaled quietly and returned to his work, more determined than ever. Humans had an advantage: the ability to think creatively, to anticipate patterns, and to adapt under pressure. This drone could follow a programmed path, but Elias could improvise. Hours turned into the evening. The chamber's light shifted as the planet's sun moved across the sky. Elias worked tirelessly, adjusting, testing, and observing. Every move brought him closer to understanding the lock's perfect configuration. Every minor success reinforced his confidence. Finally, he paused and looked at the lock. He could see it now, not just as a physical mechanism, but as a system of energy, logic, and pattern. He understood its behavior, its reactions, and its preferences. "Almost there," Mara said softly, sensing his progress. "Trust your instincts. This is where human creativity matters most." Elias nodded. He reached for the final component, a small crystalline plate that would complete the lock. The machine's hum rose slightly, almost as if it were aware of the significance of this step. He aligned the plate carefully, observing the energy pulses. He adjusted it slightly, then stepped back. The machine responded with a series of gentle pulses, perfectly synchronized with his adjustments. It was a subtle acknowledgement, but unmistakable. The machine accepted the lock. Elias' heart raced with excitement. The moment of success was exhilarating. He had not only crafted the lock but had done so in harmony with the machine's rhythm, demonstrating the unique human ability to adapt and create under pressure. Mara stepped closer, her expression calm but proud. "You did it," she said simply. "You have crafted a lock that only a human could design. It will secure the machine, protect its energy, and ensure the station's safety." Elias smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. This was more than a job. It was proof of human ingenuity, creativity, and adaptability. The machine had challenged him, and he had risen to meet it. But there was no time to rest. Mara gestured to a holographic map that appeared above the console. It showed other colonies, distant settlements, and energy grids. "This is only the beginning," she said. "The lock you created here is the key to protecting not just this station, but many others. Human ingenuity is the reason we can survive and thrive among the stars." Elias felt a surge of pride. Humans had come far, from simple tools on Earth to colonies on distant planets. And now, he had proven that human creativity and adaptability were more valuable than any technology, more reliable than any automated system. Suddenly, the machine pulsed more strongly, sending a gentle wave of energy through the chamber. Elias felt it resonate with the lock he had crafted. It was as if the machine were acknowledging his work, responding to the uniquely human thought and care he had put into every detail. "Look at it," Mara said. "The machine recognizes you. It responds to human understanding. That is what sets us apart. That is why humans matter." Elias stood and stepped back, taking in the entire chamber. The machine glowed softly, its energy stable and perfectly synchronized with the lock. It was beautiful, not just in form but in function. And he realized something important. The machine was not just a tool, it was a reflection of human potential. As he packed his tools, Mara walked beside him. "Tomorrow," she said, "you will see why this lock was necessary. And you will understand the true value of human creativity in a universe filled with challenges we cannot yet imagine." Elias nodded, excitement and anticipation mixing with fatigue. He had completed the task, but he knew this was only the beginning. Humans had faced countless challenges throughout history, adapting and thriving against the odds. Now, on a distant planet among alien-inspired technology, they were proving that their ingenuity still mattered. As he looked out the chamber's windows at the shimmering iron mist, Elias felt a sense of connection, not just to the machine, or to Mara, or to the station, but to humanity itself. Humans had come far, and yet there was still so much to discover, so much to create, and so many mysteries to solve. He felt ready for whatever came next, because humans had a gift, the ability to think, adapt, and create. And no matter how advanced technology became, that gift could never be replicated. Elias smiled, knowing that he had proven it today. And tomorrow, the universe would reveal the next challenge, and humans would rise to meet it. The hidden chamber was quiet, except for the steady hum of the machine. Elias stood in front of it, his tools carefully set aside, the lock he had crafted installed perfectly. For hours he had adjusted, tested, and fine-tuned every component, aligning it with the machine's energy pulses. Now the final moment had come. Mara stepped closer, her eyes calm and steady. "This is it," she said softly. Everything you have done so far has prepared you for this. The machine is ready. All that remains is for you to activate it fully. And when you do, you will see why human intuition and creativity were required. Elias swallowed, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. He had faced complex locks before, but this was different. This machine wasn't just a mechanism. It was alive in its own way, responding to human thought, adjusting to creativity, and testing adaptability. He took a deep breath and placed his hands lightly on the machine's interface. Tiny pulses of light ran along the crystalline panels, responding to his touch. He could feel the energy flowing beneath the surface, a gentle but steady force. "Focus," Mara said. "Think with your hands, your mind, and your intuition. The machine senses understanding, not force." Elias closed his eyes for a moment, centering himself. He let his mind become calm, attentive, and open to the machine's rhythm. Slowly, he began to adjust the final sequence, aligning the energy channels with the lock he had installed. Each movement was deliberate, precise, and measured. The machine responded immediately. Its pulses shifted slightly, matching his adjustments. Elias felt a thrill. The machine was interacting with him, acknowledging his choices and accepting his design. "Good," Mara said quietly. "Now let it recognize the human mind fully." Elias focused harder, observing subtle shifts in the energy flow, responding to changes he could feel but not yet see. He traced the logic behind the machine's design, predicting how each component would react to the next. It was a delicate dance, one that required patience, intuition, and creativity, qualities humans excelled at. As he worked, the hum of the machine grew stronger, vibrating through the floor and walls. Elias could feel it in his bones, resonating with the lock and the patterns he had designed. It was alive, but it was alive in harmony with his own actions. Suddenly, a minor energy fluctuation rippled through the chamber. Elias paused. The lock had stabilized it immediately, but the pulse signaled that the system was reacting to his work. He adjusted the alignment slightly, guided by instinct rather than calculation. The machine responded with a series of soft, synchronized pulses, almost musical in their rhythm. Elias smiled. This was it. The machine was accepting not just the lock but the uniquely human approach he had used to create it. Mara's eyes glinted with pride. "You see," she said softly, "no algorithm, no program, no alien sensor could have done this. Only a human mind could adapt and respond in real time to what the machine required." Elias felt a surge of pride. Humans had always relied on creativity, intuition, and the ability to adapt. They had faced challenges across centuries and planets, and now here they were, on a distant world, interacting with technology that even the most advanced alien systems could not fully understand. He continued his adjustments, fine-tuning the lock's integration with the machine. Every subtle change caused the energy flows to stabilize further. The machine's crystalline panels glowed brighter, and soft waves of light traveled along the conduits. It was beautiful, intricate, and alive in a way that no mechanical system alone could achieve. Hours passed. Elias felt a deep sense of focus, fully immersed in the challenge. He was not just working on a lock, he was working with a living system, learning from it, responding to it, and guiding it. The combination of human creativity and precision engineering was the key. Then, a sudden change occurred. The machine's energy pulses intensified, creating a pattern Elias had not seen before. It was a complex sequence, almost like a riddle. He paused, studying the rhythm carefully. The lock responded to the sequence as he adjusted it, and slowly the pulses stabilized again. "Excellent," Mara said. "You have adapted. You see patterns where others would fail. That is the power of humanity. We are not just survivors, we are innovators." Elias' heart raced with excitement. The machine pulsed steadily now, in perfect harmony with the lock and the adjustments he had made. It was fully active, stabilized, and secure. He had done it. Humans, with their unique combination of intuition, creativity, and adaptability, had succeeded where technology alone could not. He stepped back and admired the machine. It was more than a device. It was a testament to human ingenuity. Every pulse, every glow, every alignment reflected the choices he had made, the subtle understanding he had applied, and the uniquely human approach to problem-solving. Mara nodded approvingly. The machine is secure. The station's energy is protected. And you have demonstrated the truth of what I told you. Humans have a gift that no algorithm, no program, and no alien technology can replicate. Elias smiled. He felt a deep sense of accomplishment but also understanding. This was more than a job. It was proof of human potential, proof that humans could rise to any challenge, adapt to any environment, and create solutions no one else could imagine. The machine pulsed again, gently, as if acknowledging his work. Elias placed his hand lightly on the panel, feeling the energy resonate with his touch. It was a silent recognition of the partnership he had created, a reflection of the harmony between human creativity and technological complexity. Mara gestured toward a console that displayed the station's energy network. "This lock," she said, "is not just for this room. It protects the energy core, which powers the station, nearby settlements, and experimental facilities. Without your work, this network could have been compromised." Elias' chest swelled with pride. Humans had built and expanded across the stars, but moments like this reminded him why ingenuity mattered most. Technology alone was never enough. It needed the human mind to guide, adapt, and create. He looked out the chamber's windows at the shimmering green landscape, feeling a connection to humanity's past, present, and future. Humans had always faced challenges, from the earliest days of survival on Earth to the colonization of distant planets. And now, they continued to prove that creativity, patience, and intuition were the greatest tools of all. Mara's voice broke his thoughts. "Tomorrow, you will see the full potential of what you have activated. The station, the network, and even the neighboring colonies will all benefit from your work. And it is proof that humanity has a place in the universe, not just as explorers, but as innovators and problem solvers." Elias nodded, absorbing the weight of her words. He had crafted a lock, yes, but he had also demonstrated something far greater: the human ability to adapt, understand, and triumph in ways no other species or technology could. As the day faded and the soft glow of the iron mist filled the chamber, Elias felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. The machine was stable, the lock was secure, and humanity's ingenuity had triumphed once again. He realized something profound. Humans were not just survivors or explorers. Humans were creators, thinkers, problem solvers. And when faced with challenges that no other species could overcome, humans would rise, adapt, and succeed. The machine hummed gently, a constant reminder of the harmony between human skill and technological complexity. Elias placed his hand on the cool crystalline surface one last time, feeling the energy pulse beneath his touch. In that moment, he understood something Mara had been trying to teach him all along. The universe could throw any challenge at humanity, but the human mind, with its creativity, intuition, and adaptability, would always find a way. He smiled, feeling the quiet triumph of accomplishment. The machine was secure, the lock was perfect, and humanity's ingenuity had proven itself once again. And tomorrow, he knew, the universe would present the next challenge. But humans would meet it, just as they always had and always would. The chamber was quiet, bathed in the soft glow of the machine's crystalline panels. Elias stood a few steps away, watching the lock he had crafted hold perfectly. The energy flows were steady, the hum calm yet alive, and the station systems fully stabilized. He had spent nearly a full day aligning, testing, and perfecting the lock, and now it was complete. Mara watched him from the side, her expression calm but carrying a faint hint of pride. "You did well," she said softly, "better than I could have imagined." Elias smiled, though fatigue tugged at him. "It wasn't just me," he said. "The machine, it guided me in its own way. I just had to understand it." Mara nodded. "That is exactly what makes humans special. You observe, adapt, and think creatively. Machines, even those inspired by alien intelligence, cannot replicate that. They can follow patterns, execute programs, but humans create solutions where none exist. You've done more than secure a machine. You've proven something far greater." Elias furrowed his brow. "Greater." She walked toward a console at the edge of the chamber and activated a holographic display. Maps of distant colonies, energy grids, and research facilities appeared, connected in a web of light. "This station isn't alone," she explained. "The energy stored here supports a network of settlements across this planet and beyond. Your work here protects not just this station, but dozens of others. You've ensured safety and stability for countless humans." Elias felt a shiver run down his spine. The scale of what he had accomplished was staggering. A simple lock replacement had turned into something far more significant. He had safeguarded human life across an entire network of settlements. Mara continued, "We've relied on human skill for generations. Technology alone cannot anticipate every challenge. That is why humans matter. Your mind, your creativity, and your patience are invaluable. Today, you have demonstrated that in the most important way." Elias swallowed, a sense of humility and pride mixing inside him. He had always known humans were capable of great things, but seeing it reflected in the scale of this work, how one person could make such a difference, was overwhelming. He looked at the machine again. Its crystalline panels glowed gently, humming in steady rhythm. It was more than a tool. It was a reflection of human ingenuity. The lock he had designed, combined with his observations and intuition, had completed the system. And in doing so, he realized something profound. Humans were not just explorers or colonizers. They were problem solvers, creators, and innovators capable of achieving the impossible. Mara placed a hand on his shoulder. "You see, Elias, this is why I wanted a human here. Not a program, not an automated system, not even an alien engineer. A human mind was needed to understand, adapt, and act in ways no other intelligence could." Elias nodded slowly, understanding the weight of her words. So, the lock, it wasn't just about security. It was about the human element, the one thing no machine can replace. "Exactly," Mara said. "Humans are the only species capable of combining intuition, creativity, and adaptability in ways that matter. That is what will carry us through challenges across the stars." Elias took a deep breath, feeling a surge of pride. He had traveled light years from Earth, expecting a simple task. Instead, he had faced a challenge that tested not just his hands but his mind, his patience, and his creativity. And he had succeeded. Humans had succeeded. Mara gestured toward a holographic display showing simulations of potential energy disruptions across the network. "Imagine," she said, "if this station had failed. If the energy were destabilized, nearby colonies could face shortages, research could be lost, lives could be affected. Your work prevented all of that. You've proven the value of the human mind." Elias stepped closer, studying the simulations. He could see the intricate connections, the delicate balance of energy flows, and the potential consequences of failure. And yet, thanks to the lock he had designed and the care he had taken, everything was stable. "Humans are adaptable," Mara continued. "We learn, improvise, and innovate. Machines can do only what they are programmed to do. Aliens may have advanced technology, but even they cannot match the unpredictable brilliance of the human mind. Today, you have proven that beyond doubt." Elias smiled, feeling the quiet satisfaction of accomplishment. It wasn't just about him. It was about what humans could achieve when faced with challenges no other species could overcome. He realized that this small chamber, this lock, and this machine were symbols of a greater truth. Humans were extraordinary. As he turned to Mara, he noticed a change in her expression, soft awe mingled with respect. "You know," she said quietly, "when I first built this machine, I worried that no one could secure it properly. I feared it might take decades before a human could match the challenge. And now, you've done it in days. It's remarkable." Elias laughed softly. "I suppose that's the advantage of humans. We think differently. We adapt." Mara nodded. "Exactly, and that difference matters. The universe is full of challenges that will test us in ways we cannot predict, but humans will rise to meet them." Elias looked back at the machine. Its light shimmered like a heartbeat, stable, alive, and secure. He felt a deep sense of connection, not just to the machine or to Mara or to the station, but to humanity itself. Every human who had built, explored, or innovated across the stars was connected to this moment. His success was a reflection of their collective ingenuity. Mara gestured toward the exit. "Come, Elias, I want to show you something." Curious, Elias followed. They walked through the corridors, the hum of the station beneath their feet. The walls glimmered faintly, and the faint pulse of energy from the machine seemed to follow them, as if acknowledging his work. They reached another room, larger and brighter, filled with holographic projections of colonies, energy networks, and interstellar maps. Mara tapped a panel, and a specific set of grids highlighted in gold. "These are the settlements you've helped protect," she said. "Thanks to your work, their energy is stable, their research is secure, and their people are safe." Elias felt a swell of pride. He had started the day thinking he was simply changing a lock. Now he saw the far-reaching impact of his work, how one human mind, using creativity and patience, could affect countless lives across the stars. Mara continued, "This is why humans matter. We are not the strongest, the fastest, or the most technologically advanced species. But our minds, our ability to adapt, innovate, and create, that is our greatest strength. And today you've proven it." Elias nodded, feeling a quiet sense of accomplishment that went beyond pride. It was awe, wonder, and inspiration all at once. Humans had traveled from Earth to the stars, faced unimaginable challenges, and now, through ingenuity and adaptability, they were making the universe a safer, better place. He turned back to the machine one last time. Its crystalline panels shimmered, reflecting the light of the distant sun outside. It was stable, secure, and alive in a way that only humans could understand and guide. Elias smiled. He had proven the power of human creativity, patience, and problem-solving. And in doing so, he had strengthened humanity's place among the stars. Mara placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've done more than I could have asked. Humanity thrives because of minds like yours. Remember that. The universe will always throw challenges at us, but we will rise. We will adapt. We will succeed. That is what it means to be human." Elias took a deep breath, feeling the weight and beauty of her words. He understood now that his work was not just about locks, machines, or stations. It was about the human spirit, about ingenuity, courage, and creativity. Humans were capable of greatness in ways no technology or alien system could replicate. He looked out the window at the shimmering landscape once more, feeling a connection to the stars, to the station, and to humanity itself. This was only the beginning. The universe was vast, full of mysteries and challenges, but humans were ready. They had proven time and again that adaptability, creativity, and determination could overcome any obstacle. Elias smiled quietly to himself. He had arrived to change a lock, but in the process, he had discovered something far greater. He had discovered the true value of the human mind and the limitless potential of humanity among the stars. Mara watched him with a quiet, satisfied smile. "The universe will continue to challenge us," she said softly. "But humans will always rise to meet it." And in that quiet, glowing chamber, Elias understood the truth. Humanity had a place among the stars, not just as survivors but as creators, innovators, and guardians of the future. The machine hummed softly, the lock secure, the station stable. Humanity had triumphed, not through force but through ingenuity, patience, and the power of the human mind. And as Elias turned to leave the chamber, he knew that this was only the beginning of the story. Humanity would continue to rise, adapt, and thrive. Because humans were extraordinary.